morning, people. So today we're going to be talking about what I consider strange, the strange case of Nicola Bulley. So let's get into it. So on the 27th of January, a 45-year-old woman was reported missing from St Michael's on the Wyre, Lancashire, England. It was reported that she had an Essex accent. She was 5'3", and the police also immediately said that she was in the river, even though at that time many other possibilities existed. She was a mother of 2 daughters, and she was engaged to a man called Paul Ansell, who very early on, possibly that day or the following days, he was ruled out as to be involved. If I'm not mistaken, I think their house had like CCTV, and they could prove that it weren't him. But that didn't stop people online creating their own little narratives in their head. So the police initially had said that when she went missing, she was wearing jeans. Now this is important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The police said that she was wearing jeans, a coat that was knee length, and Wellington boots. Days later, CCTV from the doorbell, I don't know if it was her doorbell or a neighbour's doorbell, but it showed that her hair was in a ponytail. She had on a coat that came above her knees. She had on Wellington boots, but they were just ankle ones. She had a gilet and she was wearing leggings. Now, this difference is important when you're thinking of a suspected drowning, because obviously jeans are going to weigh you down more. A knee-length coat will affect your ability to swim, and if you're wearing Wellington boots that usually come just below your knee, that is going to also affect, the water's going to go into that and weigh you down. A friend came out as well and said that she was a really strong swimmer. So it was just an odd case at the time. So the police were appealing for cyclists and drivers who had been going along Garstang Road that morning. The police released CCTV footage of a woman with a pram and another woman in a red coat, and they were asked to come forward and contact the police. Both of these women had been ruled out. On the 5th of February, so a few days later, a week later, the police gave us a timeline of the morning she went missing. They said that she left home at 8:26 and she dropped the 2 little girls off at school as usual. She'd spoke to another parent and she'd arranged a play date. This was around 8:40. Now Nicola drove to the school and she left the car parked there, and she took her dog Willow for the typical daily walk along the river. She was seen at 8:43 walking along the path of the river. At 8:50 she was seen with Willow in the lower fields. At 8:53 she emails a boss. At 9:01 she logs into a work team call. At 9:10 she's seen in the upper field. Now at 9:30 the team call ends, but Nicola stays logged in. At 9:35 Willow is found by a bench alone off a lead, and Nicola's phone is on the bench. The woman that finds them recognises Willow, and she contacts her daughter-in-law who knew Paul, and then obviously the police were called. So, like I said early on, the police are ruling out that anyone else is involved. She's in the river. So 10 days in to the search, a specialist group um, enters the case. Now apparently they contacted the family on Facebook, and the family went to the police and said, can these come in? And the police were like, okay. Now the group is called Specialist Group International, and the chief executive is Peter Fording. He has 20 years experience as a forensic search expert in the UK, and he's deemed an expert by the Home Office at this point. And he's got specialist side scanner sonar high frequency equipment. And he says that our sonar is probably a bit more superior than the police sonar. And this is the Monday. They don't find nothing. They search again on the Tuesday, and he makes another statement saying, we normally find someone within an hour. If there's a body in the river, our sonar will detect it. But they don't find her. Again, the police are insisting that she is in there. They said that she hadn't left the area, but they gave no evidence as to why they thought this. And social media at this point was just going crazy. The police made a statement saying that Peter and his team didn't know the full details of the case. So he made a statement saying he's worked with police for decades, and when he enters the case, he's never not being given all the information, because it's vital, because they need to know all the details so that they know how to search. So again, conspiracy-minded people were going crazy. So 2 weeks on, and the police are still saying that she's definitely in the water. She was wearing a blue Fitbit, but it hadn't been synced since the Tuesday before she'd gone missing. On the 12th of February, it was reported that 2 men had been acting suspiciously the day before she went missing outside the local church. And Paul, Nicola's boyfriend, says that he thinks that the locals know something. On day 14, Channel 5 do a documentary, and ex-police officer, now journalist, Mark Williams Thomas is part of the panel. So is Peter Fording. Now, Mark Williams Thomas says that the police need to keep the investigation broad instead of so narrow, saying that she's in the river. Questions were being raised, especially with a channel, we're 2 weeks into a missing person, and Channel 5 are doing a documentary, and people on social media were saying, every year there's 170,000 missing people in the UK. Why is all the focus on this one woman? Another important thing to mention is the only phone numbers that the police gave was 999, which is the emergency, and 101, which is the non-emergency. There was no specific incident number, which they usually give out. So again, that was weird. Paul gave an interview saying the answer doesn't lie in the river. They'd been together for 12 years and he regretted not getting married. They kept putting it off. They wanted to wait for the right time. Then we had the pandemic. Then they thought, let's wait till the girls are a bit older. And he says that he regrets not getting married to her. And then he says something that people don't just vanish, but unfortunately they do. Dave Paulides, he's an ex-American police officer, and he's a researcher now, and he writes books and stuff, and he doesn't draw conclusions, he just documents all the strange missing people's cases, and he calls them Missing 411. So check him out, he's really good. On the day she went missing, where Willow was found, the water was only 2 foot. Now remember, she's not restricted being able to swim, and she's a strong swimmer. Like I said, the police ruled him out really quick, but on one of his interviews, he smiles, and everyone was going, oh, it's stupid as delight, he's guilty. Now, this is flawed. Peter Hyatt even says it's highly flawed. People say, oh, they're smiling so they know they're lying, and yes, sometimes, but you know, people are nervous when there's cameras and people interviewing them, and people get nervous and laugh and smile all the time. It doesn't mean anything. A few days before she's found, the police say that she's high risk. Now, this is nearly 3 weeks in, and this is the first time that the police have said that she's, you know, quite vulnerable and she's high risk. Now, this information was vital, especially to Peter Fordham. He said, you know, if we'd have known that, we would have searched differently. And they said that she'd been struggling with the symptoms of the menopause, and she'd started to drink to cope. Now, this caused uproar in the country. I think it was even mentioned in Parliament. It also came out that on the 10th of January, so a week and a bit before she went missing, the police were called to her house along with support workers. Now, we didn't know that either. So now people are thinking, oh, maybe it's suicide. On the 19th of February, about a mile from where she was last seen, members of the public dog walker, who claims to be a medium, Jason Rothwell, finds Nicola's body in the river to the side. Again, you know, this river had been searched so many times and nobody found her. This caused many questions as to why the police and expert forensic searchers couldn't find her, but a medium could. Peter Fordham was blamed, the police were blamed, and the police referred themselves to the IOPC, which is like the people who police the police, regarding the 10th of January incident. So I think they must have mishandled it, but again, we don't know all the details. So it's suggested and implied that she'd been struggling a lot, and she'd killed herself because of the menopause. But you know, if she had such a really bad drinking problem, would Paul really let her drive the 2 kids to school? Would she have arranged a play date if she was going to go and kill herself? Would she leave Willow, the dog, off a lead? You know, where she could have ran off or got hurt or anything, and then go and kill herself? It just doesn't make sense. For the police, the case is closed. It's been referred to the coroner, Dr. James Adley, who contacted the surgeon, Andrew Ian Edwards, who compared dental records so her family didn't have to ID her. Her body was examined on the 20th of February, and an inquest was opened. Her family didn't attend. The full inquest is likely to happen in June. So once the inquest has happened, I'll do a follow-up part 2. But what are your thoughts on this case? You know, do you believe in mediums? Are the police just really inadequate? This case reminded me a lot of the case in Chucky, where it was searched so many times, and then Adventures with Purpose come in and find the car. But again, if you go and read the work of Dave Paulides, this happens so often where places are searched hundreds of times and then the body is found there. It's bizarre. So yeah, very sad case. Young woman, 2 little babies. I believe they're 6 and 9. The friends were blamed and accused, and people were saying the sister was having an affair with Paul and they'd done it together, and people were saying Paul's done it, and it's just insane. But again, I blame the police. The police, by not being honest with the public, people, if you don't know stuff, you make it up in your head. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, whatever you're doing. Take care, and I'll see you in my next one. Ta-ra.